Jill, what is the significance of Donald Trump being named and linked to the possibility of more violence as a reason to keep monitoring this defendant?
It shows the real danger that we're in. Even though that the fence is coming down, I think in August there has to be increased vigilance. The president, the former occupant of the White House, keeps repeating false information that he will be reinstated. When that doesn't happen, because there is no way that it can, there is no legal or even fantastical way that it could happen, there will be people who will be disappointed, because the people who listen to news from unverified sources or listen to it on Fox and OAN and Newsmax believe that this is true. And they may react to it in the same way they reacted to his urgings on January 6th and just before January 6th, and we could have another insurrection. So I think that the Capitol Police and all state governments need to be on high alert then. And the proof is in what was said. You read from what the prosecutors said, and it remains very true that all of his words could lead to another insurrection. And we must be careful, and we cannot let people out of jail without some sort of monitoring system so that they don't respond. They said that they were there on January 6th because the president sent them, referring to the former president. And we can't let that happen again.
So I have to ask, could this indicate any movement toward Trump being investigated directly for the actions of these insurrectionists?
It could.
So Alicia, it's...
Oh, sorry. Katie, go ahead.
Katie.
Sure. Trust me, Jill's infinitely smarter than me, but I do have a couple of things that I could say. So Alicia, what's important to note here is that regardless of the fiction that is being peddled at CPAC and whatever is being peddled by the former guy that used to be in the White House, this is a law enforcement investigation and prosecution first and foremost. And we have more than 535 people that have been arrested. So to your question, Alicia, more than 40 of those people that have been arrested have been charged with some kind of conspiracy offense. Well, you got to have more than one person with whom to conspire. So is it somebody in Congress, members of Congress? Is it perhaps Donald Trump himself? As time goes by and as people like 3 of the Oath Keepers that have agreed to cooperate with the prosecution, as more of those types of defendants reach plea agreements wherein they're, willing to cooperate, willing to tell their side of how this was planned. I mean, that's what's amazing about this. More than 15,000 hours of video have been reviewed by law enforcement. Hundreds of witnesses have been interviewed as well. There was a level of organization that didn't just start from just one person. And as Jill has said, there had to be somebody who inspired these people to go and do this insurrection on January 6th. And oftentimes it points to one person and maybe one person only, and that could be the former president.
Yeah, Jill, you should, of course, feel free to add to that. But I do want to ask you, since you reference platforms that peddle disinformation, the DOJ is connecting fears of more violence to television networks that continue to perpetuate Trump's big lie. Could there be any legal ramifications for those networks as this case continues?
There could be. I mean, there have been some civil cases filed against those networks for disinformation, for hurting people's reputation. Billion-dollar lawsuits that I believe are completely credible and could change how news is reported on those sites, because they're being held accountable for the falsehoods that they allowed to be used on their own sites. And Donald Trump himself has sued social media for banning him from telling falsehoods on it. That's very important. There's no way that that lawsuit will prevail. It will be dismissed because there is no First Amendment ground to be on a private website that is not a government. The First Amendment says Congress shall pass no laws. So I think all of these things are coming together in a way that possibly we could get back to a time that I still remember, when there were 3 networks and they all had the same facts. There was no debate about what was truth, only about what the policies that should follow from that truth were. That's a legitimate debate. You can have your own opinions about policy. You cannot have your own facts. And that's what we have to get back to.
Katie, all of this is happening, of course, set against the backdrop of the Select Committee getting ready to get together to meet. And I want to play some sound from Congressman Thompson on MSNBC's Cross Connection earlier. Tiffany Cross asks if they subpoena Trump, how they would enforce it. Take a listen.
Well, obviously, if the subpoena is refused, then we'll go to court. We'll have our day in court. In America, even when Donald Trump is involved, there is a judicial system, and we will not hesitate to apply that system.
Katie, do you think there's a way he gets out of testifying if he's subpoenaed?
No, because no man is above the law. And we do have prior precedent that's been reached that basically says, look, he's not the president of the United States anymore. He can't hide behind some idea that he's too busy to go and sit and testify. I mean, if you're going to have the Capitol officers and law enforcement testify, if you're going to have members of Congress testify, then Donald Trump himself needs to testify as well. And he can't hide from the service of a lawful subpoena. And he's going to have to be able to say what his involvement was, if anything. And the reality is we also know that Trump aides actually had more knowledge about what was going to happen on January 6th than previously known to have occurred. And so there's a lot of things, like Jill said, there's kind of this concurrence and this confluence of events that's happening now. The Select Committee is going to have testimony. We have these continuing criminal prosecutions. You have these civil lawsuits. And throughout all of this are the facts and the reality and the truth. The video that just got released by the DOJ from the body cam of one of the officers, you heard one of these insurrectionists say, "You're going to die tonight." That is not what a tourist says. And that is the reality. And so when you get to see and hear and experience and feel more and more of what this insurrection was all about, it's less the lies and less the fiction that's being peddled by people like Donald Trump.
Yeah, not what a tourist would say, not normal at all. Jill, I have to ask you, the pin you are wearing, what is the commentary on today's story?
That is very clear. It's a fence. It's actually a wall that Donald Trump probably wanted, not the fence he got surrounding our Capitol, a thing I was really sad to see. And it's coming down today. And that's a good thing that we have our Capitol back. I'm very happy to see that happening.
All right, Katie and Jill, how lucky are we that you spent some of your Saturday with us? Thank you both so much.